What's growing on, gardeners? On today's 2-minute garden tip, I'm going to show you how I'm going to keep my potted plants watered while I'm away on vacation. I'm going away on vacation for 4 days, and while I'm away, 3 of those days are going to be 80 degrees. So all of these potted plants run a big risk of drying out. So I need to do something to prevent them from drying out while I'm away. Now, luckily, it's early November, so while it's still going to be unseasonably warm, it's not going to be brutally hot like during the summer. So these 20-gallon containers, which have been mulched very well, will more than likely be able to take care of themselves as long as I soak them down very well. So it's very important that I soak these down as best as possible this evening, and then tomorrow morning, right before I catch my flight, I will give them another soaking so they are as saturated as possible. But these smaller potted plants that you see over here, even this time of year, have no chance. They dry out within a single day, even now. We will strategically move our sensitive potted plants into this shady alcove against my house where it gets very limited sun, and then we will use these citrus plants as shade shields. That's because citrus plants can actually dry out completely in containers. So we're going to give them just enough water to make sure they're happy for a day or two, and then if they dry out a little bit, no big deal. They can actually run dry for a couple of days and we don't have to worry about the potted citrus. So all of my potted plants that are very sensitive to drying out are all here. I will cluster them strategically in with the potted citrus so they get shaded out. And then I will also place them on top of these various plant saucers and flood them. That way they have a reservoir to drink from, which should sustain them for a couple extra days. All of the sensitive plants have been successfully clustered together. Everything has been mulched and saturated with water as much as possible, and I'll make sure to give them one more watering before I leave for my flight tomorrow, and then we will check in on them in 4 days and see how they did. Well, I'm back from my 4-day vacation, and this setup worked absolutely flawlessly. In fact, we were blessed with some rain on Saturday night into Sunday, so my plants didn't have to go a full 4 days without water. They only had to go 3.5. And that's why you can actually still see some water is left over in the bottom of the reservoirs. This larger reservoir over here accumulated so much water that I actually had to take the plants out of it and dump it, because we don't want potted plants sitting in water like that for more than a few days. They can survive for a little while submerged in water like that, but any longer and you risk them actually drowning and dying. My tomato plants also did fantastic while I was away. These large containers that I remulched and soaked down easily survived the 4 days. In fact, this tomato plant right here had an incredible explosion in ripening while I was away, and now I have a wonderful harvest of late fall tomatoes. So this experiment is proof that this method can work for you if you plan things out correctly. Check your weather forecast. If you see that you're going to have numerous rain days before you leave on vacation, it may not be a good idea to completely submerge these plant saucers in water. You may want them to dry out a little bit if you expect heavy rain to come, so your plants don't sit in all that water for 7 days straight. If you're going to be away and the forecast says it's going to be completely rainless, you may need to supply deeper reservoirs than what I provided in this video, because it's entirely possible that in the middle of the summer, 7 dry days, this will not be enough water for your plants. So please keep that in mind. This system can work, but you will have to watch the forecast and plan accordingly. And that's today's 2-minute garden tip. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell to receive new video notifications, and check out our Amazon storefront and spread shop in the video description for a list of the gardening products I use and awesome custom designed apparel and other gear. Your support is greatly appreciated.